These aren't the droids you're looking for. Hi, Misha here, and at this point Star Wars is more a meme than anything else, but something I grew up with, at least the original trilogy. The prequels, they came out when I was a young adult. Last time, we talked about the Lucrehulk battleship slash droid control ship, the C-9979 dropship, and the MTT multi-troop transport. These all were how the Separatists got battle droids onto the battlefield. And as I teased at the end of that video, now we're going to look at the B1 battle droid itself. And I have 3 examples here, although they're all from the same mold in the Black Series. It took a very long time to get any battle droid in the series at all, nearly up to, I think it was over 80. So I decided, why not? On the left here we have the heavy battle droid with his cannon. In the middle we have the original Phantom Menace style, and I have him set up more as an officer. And then finally we have the Geonosian paint that I have collapsed. Let me know, I know the legs I have right and the head, but I'm not sure how the arms actually collapse up. I mean, I've got them folded up, but those of you that can actually see, let me know how to fold the arms properly. I mean, they're hinged so they can fold a bit in different ways. So the B1 battle droid, also known as a Class 4 droid. These existed long before the invasion of Naboo. They were primarily used as security, defense, that kind of thing, droids by the Trade Federation and others. We didn't really know it in the Phantom Menace when we first saw them, but they were actually designed primarily by Geonosians, hence the kind of insectoid look. But they were manufactured not just there, but on several places throughout the Outer Rim, the Separatist territories. And they were basically built to the same specification, although there were special types, for example, the series OOM, and there was also the BX series of commando droids. And during the Clone Wars, these actually led to the B2 super battle droid, and there were also droidkas. Unfortunately, we don't have a B2 or a droidka in the Black Series, and probably never will. So we'll make do here. I guess my heavy one will stand in. He's got a big enough gun. So what are the specs, and what kind of differentiates a officer or commander from a standard infantry B1, and what were the pros and cons of these? This heavy variant is a good place to start, and he's actually from the Battlefield games. And the general droid was about 6 foot 3 inches tall, but very skeletal, very spindly. In fact, he only weighed just over 140 pounds. And these were designed to be mass-produced, cheap, and not terribly effective, frankly, but mass production. Again, the look was kind of inspired by the Geonosians. And the standard infantry has this comm booster backpack. And on the toy slash model, these antennae do extend up. You can compress them down. Pretty neat. And the backpack is removable. And you can peg his standard medium blaster onto the side, freeing up his hands for other weapons. And these were designed to operate standard weapons, vehicles, other equipment of organics. So pretty much anything a human can use, they could use too, plus then some. This is that radiation cannon, one of their heavier weapons. Even though they were pretty spindly, they actually were quite strong because, well, droids. And they were trained in hand-to-hand combat, and they could wield massive weapons like this one. They were not very intelligent, although things would improve throughout the Clone Wars as they're upgraded, but there were downsides to upgrading these too. They were also designed to use as many standard droid parts that were on the market at the time, making manufacturing and repair easier. Again, yeah, cheap. But while their tactics were pretty crude, wave attacks and just, covers, not even an idea really, overwhelming numbers. Also, you couldn't just blow off a limb and it was dead. In fact, you could destroy the whole body, and the head you could still report intelligence back. So to really knock one of these guys out, you had to knock out the head. Yeah. But they were in use all the way through the Clone Wars and produced in the billions. Not millions, but billions. As we talked about in the last video, just one Luckerhulk could deliver over 60,000 to a battlefield, even up to 300,000 in certain instances with enough craft on board. Interestingly, in the Separatist army, these were technically there and outranked the astromechs, which is hilarious. So the reason I thought this heavy one was neat, and I thought he'd be a good one to set up as an infantryman, he comes with this big gun, the smaller E5, and he even comes with a DLT-19. Pretty standard blaster rifle that comes with a lot of things. But, 3 weapons is pretty good for these, plus a removable backpack and another accessory we'll talk about now. Roger. If you don't want to do the backpack look, you can actually unplug it, and in the back you can plug in this smaller communications unit instead. And at least in Phantom Menace, we see these on this kind of look on the commanders and security droids, and maybe some of the pilots. And basically, the type of droid was indicated by his color. And the articulation on this is pretty good, frankly. In fact, the little ears even flip up in the back. I don't know, it's just interesting. If I'm being honest, this was the first one of these in the Black Series I considered getting and finally did. The reason was I was doing videos on the ships, and I thought after doing the MTT and all that, it'd be kind of fun to show little B1s. So I thought, why not get the old Micro Machines set of B1s? There's like 8 or 9 in a little pack. Then I went on eBay. They are very expensive, 40, 50 bucks. No. And these, if you buy them on sale, are like 15 bucks. This seemed like a better buy. In fact, for what one of those packages cost, I was able to buy almost all 3 of these here. I think these 3 together cost me like 50 or 55 total. And that's kind of what led me down this path several months ago. But yeah, he's set up as an officer, and he is cradling his E5. So let's talk about their little standard blaster here. The E5 started off as a Blaster Tech product, but the design was essentially cloned or copied by Baktoid works and was basically designed for the B1. There's a few things that it does that are kind of made for them. It's classed as a medium blaster. It's about 5 pounds, 2.2 kilograms, and it's quite powerful, and it holds 500 shots. So that's good. Powerful bolts, not too really heavy. On the other hand, it's considered rather bulky and not terribly ergonomic. It's not really known for accuracy, but that's okay for a battle droid because they're not known for accuracy either. And because of the powerful shots, the large gas chamber, and the relatively light shielding, it actually heats up in combat quite a bit, meaning that an organic holding it would probably get uncomfortable quickly. But a droid, unless it gets super hot to the point it's melting, they don't care. So, yeah. That was their standard all the way throughout the Clone War. And these were produced in the billions for these. Even if they had other weapons issued to them, like our heavy guy over here again, wherever I put him. No, there. They usually would carry their E5 on the backpack. And yes, it was actually connected in such a way where the grip was above so they could reach over using their robot articulation to grab it. So even if they had a primary gun, it was usually their secondary gun. Or in the case of commanders like these, yeah. So there were specialized robots for specialized programming. But early on, as we see them in the Phantom Menace, they had a droid control ship, meaning they had basically no autonomy. They were directed from above, which while it gave them a little bit better programming, and it definitely gave them better coordination with each other, it had a super weak point. But for the Clone Wars, that was corrected. So let's get our final guy here. This variant is a pretty recent release in the series, and it is in the Geonosian paint/color scheme. And I have him folded up. The little model toy is kind of neat. The legs actually fold into each other. They're notched. And the head actually articulates out of the body a bit and then kind of folds over down in. So they actually put effort into making these do the whole fold up thing. Again, the arms I'm not really sure on, let me know. But they would do this when they were in stowage. Essentially they were a 140-pound suitcase on racks. They would also go into this mode if they went into low power to conserve power, because, yeah. Now this guy, he just comes with the standard backpack, the standard blaster, and the alternative back unit, so he doesn't have anything extra from the first one, but that's okay. So for the Clone Wars, really before, they found ways to make these operate autonomously. And generally that's a good thing. Except it meant the programming could be a little more limited. And even when they tried to give these specialized programming, for example, to operate starships, as time went on, they would get quote-unquote glitchy and weird. And this is the explanation in-universe canon explanation why the droids in the Clone Wars cartoon are kind of weird. Makes sense, though. Anyone who's run a PC with Windows for a while knows, yeah, when you first install the software, works pretty great. When you leave it running for a year or two, it gets weirder and weirder, especially if it suffers any kind of damage or corruption. And so the droids would as well. So giving them the specialized programming kind of increased the likelihood of them getting funky. But nevertheless, more and more specialized versions would be created throughout the Clone Wars. But still basically the basic B1 chassis here. And production would expand time and time again, still using the E5 throughout the war. And again, they would have several variations. They could operate not only on a planet, but also in space, because why not? And a little surprisingly, in water, aquatically. At least certain versions could. So they were versatile, if not very intelligent. Also very easily lightsabered. But that's the B1 Battle Droid. So there you have it, a little overview of the clankers, or the tinnies, as the clones would call them. And yeah, these weren't all that effective. In fact, one clone was worth at least 20 B1s, and if it was a good clone or an experienced clone like a commando, more like 1 to 50. And yes, the B2 was a better droid, but for every one B2 that the Separatists put on the battlefield, there were 100 B1s. They were just more expensive and time-consuming to make, so there's always trade-offs. After the Clone Wars, pretty much most of these were shut down and ordered scrapped. The Empire would reprogram a few into security droids, but generally speaking, combat droids, battle droids, were outlawed in the Empire, and stormtroopers were actually given a standing order to destroy any on site immediately. That said, little Separatist pockets popped up here and there for years, because again, billions built. So they pop up from time to time, but the bulk did not make it past 19 BBY. And to be fair, they just weren't that intelligent and on their own or even in tiny groups very useful. These were built for swarm tactics, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. That's when they could overwhelm even like the Jedi, like we saw in the first Battle of Geonosis at 22 BBY. They were actually able to kill several Jedi just because of their sheer numbers. Also, having an inaccurate but very powerful blaster didn't hurt. So, there you go. We talked about clones last time. This time, for the last two videos, we talked about a little bit of Separatist. So, let me know what you think. As always, if you could, please like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time. Roger, Roger.